Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I am the Register of Deeds for Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. I want to thank the folks here at the local scene for allowing me to do this show and the great help that Keith Hughes is giving me today, as he has in many shows previously. Our headline for the month was March Sales Spring Back to Life. We're talking about the March recordings. This show is being taped in April, but the March recordings of document at the Registry of Deeds. So let's get right to the numbers. We had a bounce back in March from February. February was a pretty lousy month for real estate between the storms and other issues. But we had 498 deeds recorded in March, more than the 328 recorded in February, 22% lower than last year's deeds, 8% less year to date. Our average home price remains very high, $718,721 across the very diverse 27 communities in Plymouth County. It's a little different story for mortgages. Mortgages, although the rates have been up and down, have been running fairly well compared to sales of property. 1,324 mortgages recorded in March, more than the 1,014 in February, 29% more than last year's mortgages, and year-to-date up 20%. Again, the rates have been bumping around a little bit. We're coming down and then went up a little bit again based upon national issues that have affected the markets. We still track foreclosure deeds and notices since the meltdown of 2008. There were only 6 foreclosure deeds in March, less than the 7 in February. And both of those are historically low numbers since the COVID period when there was a moratorium on foreclosure recordings. The lenders really haven't gone forward with a lot of foreclosure sales. Foreclosure notices are a little different story, but the foreclosure deeds recorded are 45% less, 45% more than the foreclosure deeds in March of last year. So as far as foreclosure notices go, again, a little different story. The numbers are a little higher. A lot more people are finding themselves in trouble paying their mortgage. There were 26 foreclosure notices recorded in March, slightly less than the 29 in February, and year-to-date are down 21%. A lot of people don't pay as much attention as they should to their property. I advise you, if you're in trouble with your mortgage, reach out to a federal housing counselor, ASAP. We provide a group called NeighborWorks with all of the foreclosure notices recorded at the Registry of Deeds. They send out a informational notice to them telling them if they call NeighborWorks, they can try to help them through the difficult times, maybe try to get a lower interest rate or string out their years for their mortgage and try to keep them in the house. But the worst thing you can do if you're in trouble with your mortgage is to ignore it. A lot of people are embarrassed by it. You can't be. You have to be vigilant and active. And NeighborWorks is a great place to start. They have trained staff. They have federal certified housing counselors. So again, I say that all the time, and just beware that you have to be aggressive as a homeowner if you're in trouble especially. The next is a shot of all 27 communities in Plymouth County, all the way from Abington to Whitman, showing foreclosure deeds and orders of notice. As you can see, there's still a lot of zeros there. And again, that is because lenders have not really picked up the pace since the COVID moratorium. One of the things I always like to promote is our free fraud alert. We have thousands of people that have signed up for it. And what it is, if you go to our website, PlymouthDeeds.org, so that's PlymouthDeeds.org, and go to our resources section, you can sign up for fraud alert. And fraud alert means putting your information into that form they show you, property address, email, name. And so if something gets recorded against your name, you get an email and you can act on that. Unfortunately, it's after the fact. However, there are scams out there, not as many as you might think, but still scammers out there that because property is a good asset, try to take advantage of that. So you can somewhat protect yourself by this fraud alert. I strongly recommend you do that. And it's free. So take advantage of that. There are also mailings people get saying, we can get you your deed for $50 or more. Ignore those letters. You can get a copy of your deed for $1 a page at one of our satellites. And if you call our customer service department, they can email it to you at a slightly higher cost. Everyone should have a copy of their deed in their financial packet, along with their wills and powers of attorney and all of those necessary documents. I do not have a guest on this show, so we'll go right to our notable records. We always try to tie our notable records to the holidays of the month. In the month of April, Easter was the 5th. Tax Day coming up on the 15th. Patriots Day will be the 20th. Earth Day, the 22nd. And stuck in between those with the Masters Golf Tournament. So my first notable record relates to that great Masters Tournament. Actually won for the second year in a row. And it was a challenging finish, and was a great one to watch. But the main thing that I talk about here is there was an individual from Brockton who was a world-famous golf writer. And he coined the term Amen Corner. So if you're watching all of those golfers working their way around the course, as they went through the 11th, 12th, and 13th hole, there were references to Amen Corner. Herbert Warren Wind was from Brockton. He played golf at Brockton Stony Lee. He's the only golf writer to win the American Golf Association's highest honor, the Bob Jones Award. And among his achievements is that he is credited with naming those holes Amen Corner. And he did it after watching Arnold Palmer work his way around the 11th, 12th, and 13th hole in 1958 when he won the Masters. It was Arnold Palmer's first major championship, and Wynn's inspiration for the name Amen Corner came from a jazz record titled Shouting at Amen Corner. A lot of people love the Masters just for its sheer beauty, and certainly golfers all across America watch it religiously every year. Next, in honor of Patriots Day, there was a woman from Plymouth who dressed up as a soldier in the Revolutionary War, dressed up as a man, called herself the name of a man. She was born to John and Deborah Sampson in Plymouth in 1760. Her ancestral lines go back to Governor William Bradford. Deborah enlisted in the Mass 4th Regiment during the Revolutionary War, and she signed in under the name of Robert Shirtliff. Her wartime exploits are well chronicled. Army records conclude that during her 16-month period, she fought at West Point in Tarrytown, and she was wounded 3 times. She was later honorably discharged by General George Washington. She later married a man by the name of Benjamin Gannett from Sharon, moved to Sharon, had 3 children, and later died at the age of 66. But she's so well known in the town of Plymouth that her likeness adorns the flag of the town of Plymouth. There is a monument in her honor on Plymouth Town Green, Route 58. If you're driving down Route 58, you can actually pull off the road to see that monument. It's a beautiful spot. And she was designated the official state heroine in 1983, and is well known in Plymouth County circles. Last but not least, on the Plymouth County records is in honor of Earth Day, which is coming up. We always turn back to Silent Spring and a well-known writer by the name of Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson was an author, wrote a lot of books, and the book Silent Spring is a story of the aerial spraying of DDT that killed a lot of creatures, including birds. And at the home of Oleg and Stuart Huckins, landowners, at a place not too far from the Powder Point Bridge, there was a spraying of DDT, and birds, bees, and other insects were all slaughtered. When Rachel visited Duxbury over the years as friends of the Huckins and saw that story, she included it in her book. When she later wrote her book, it was very, very controversial because people didn't acknowledge the environmental movement at that time. But her book was the beginning of the modern environmental movement. It's still a textbook in many colleges today for environmental science. And it helped launch the ban on DDT. And her book is still available today. Many people credit Rachel Carson as being the impetus for the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency in today's climate change debate. So every month since the Plymouth 400, we have promoted one of our Plymouth Colony records. This month, we're talking about a very famous order back in the 1600s when anyone that hadn't taken a pledge to support the crown was not allowed to vote at town meeting, weren't allowed to participate in democracy. At the time, town meeting, and still today, town meeting is a vital time for establishing town budgets and giving everyone a chance to participate in what happens in their town. In some cases, it's been replaced by city councils, town councils, or elected town meeting member. But pure town meeting, the right of everyone to go and participate, is the purest form of democracy. And that restriction, it was a restriction of striking names from the voter list if they had not pled support for the king, an interesting way of controlling people's love of the king, and which later became very controversial as we got to the Revolution and beyond. So I want to thank Lorna Green Baker, Elizabeth White, and Greg White from my office, helping me put this show together. Once again, Keith Hughes and the folks here at the local scene have done this show with me for many years. They allow us to share information for what most people is their most valuable asset, their home. I'll see you next month. Have a great Patriots Day, and I'll see you in the month of May. Thank you.